Hi everybody, it's Loretta, and I'm calling or doing this video to try and help those that may see a great change in their desktop version of Design Studio for Cricut. I did, and I wanted to address some of the things I saw. I'm sure there's other changes. I'm just not aware of them. I'm going to go to my stuff here in Cricut. I'm going to go to Daisy's. Now, these are from Heartfelt. I'm going to hit customize down here because I've already saved this folder. And you'll notice they're all over the place. And it's because I wanted to cut a lot of them out. But I was a little surprised after my design space updated that there were squares around the leaves, not around the flowers, unless I clicked on them, but around the leaves. And I couldn't understand that. So I realized it had to have something to do with the update. So I decided to go ahead and cut them anyway. And the other thing that happened was my Bluetooth quit working. I bought a cheap adapter. I didn't have Bluetooth on this computer, and it was working, and then all of a sudden it wasn't. And one of the messages I got when I checked into it was that Windows shut it off. They just turned it down. It was like it was faulty or something. I don't know what was wrong with it. I have Windows 11, so some of this is still new to me between Windows 11 and Windows 10. So I bought a better one. I bought a name brand one that I figured I could trust. I plugged it in tonight. It worked fine. I had to reload my Cricut and I had to reload my printer for it to sync with it or pair with it, and it is fine now. But there's some changes since Cricut updated. One of them is I have to turn on my Cricut software and use it. Go to Make, and see these don't have squares around them because it's the little flowers, but the next ones have leaves in them and they have squares around them. So I noticed that and I thought, okay, let's try it. So I continued on. Now you'll notice up here it says please waiting. It did that when I first did it. And once it connected to the maker, it was fine. Now my maker's off, so it won't connect. But I hit send to printer and it showed where everything was on the second page here. Picked my printer. It says add bleed. And remember, the bleed is where it's like smudges the edges of your picture, extending that color that's on the end so that it would cut so that it wouldn't have a white edge around it. I don't like it doing that. I think it ruins the crispness of the print. Then I hit print, printed everything, went down and printed them all. And the next thing I noticed was that I sent this to my Cricut and I cut it out after I chose which one. And Maker has to be connected before you see the options about. I chose intricate cut, cut it out, and then I noticed something strange. I put in the next piece, but I would have had to run back to my computer in the other room to set the cut options. And it went on with the same cut options I had. That was kind of nice. All I had to do was put the next one in, push cut, and it went on to cut. Wonderful, right? It was. That was a great bonus for me, a time saver from having to run back and forth. And it will cut all of them until it's cut all of them. The other thing that happened was I couldn't just change which one I was doing. Once it was sent to the maker, it stuck to the order that it was in. So that was a little change. Now, let's talk about this line around the leaves. If any of you have cut vinyl, you will know the term weed line. I think that's what Cricut's doing here. This is a more intricate cut than these two are. I can't explain why one would do it and the other one wouldn't. Maybe they're testing it. I don't know. But what happens is that this will cut around the leaf as well, but then we'll also cut around it so that when you go to pull these wasted pieces of paper out, you're not pulling this whole sheet off. You're only pulling these little pieces from the cut on the outside to the cut on the inside out. Now that sounds great because it kind of saves paper. It cuts it so that it doesn't ruin all the extra pieces of paper you have. Here's the only problem that I see, and I've dealt with it before. Sometimes it cuts the outer edge first. Now you think, okay, that's no big deal. It's on the mat, and then it goes to cut the inside cuts. Well, here's what happens. And I'm going to have to go farther out just a minute to show you. As this moves to the inside cuts, because it's cut around the outside edge, the only thing holding this paper to the mat is what little bit is stuck to it. It is now a loose piece because it's cut around the edge. Now, having said that, it can move on another piece. It can ruin the cut there. It can move, and even though it's cutting the inside cuts again, they're off. Let's say I had double cuts because I did intricate cuts, and they're off. So you get this mangled piece of paper that will sometimes get cut under your rollers or even under the cutter head that moves back and forth. And when that happens, you have to clean it out. Now, I know that whoever designed this has a thought of maybe saving paper, maybe saving time with pulling it off so that you don't tear the little pieces. All good intentions. The difference is you have to cut the inside before you cut the outside. If they give you that option, always choose inside first. Some softwares do that. Cricut's trying to make this almost hassle-free for anybody that's new. And so they're going through the growing pains of making those changes. We need to let them know we need it to cut the inside first and then the outside of the weed lines. That's the update for Cricut. I hope that helps all of you. I do have one more thing I'm going to show. There's a lady on the board here who has been doing cut and patterns in her cuts for print and cut. Now, this one here, I just took a shape and did it like this, and I just changed the shape to a different color because honestly, I don't like looking at the grayish black that they do. Then I copied it and I have the same shape, only this time instead of a basic cut, I went down here, chose print and cut, then have that selected, hit here, and here you can choose a color or a pattern. And I chose a pattern because that's what she's trying to do, is cut equal size patches with some of them having patterns and others just being basic cuts. To answer her question as to why she's getting a different size, I will tell you that when I did my print and cuts, I chose, and by the way, this is an option you can only do on the desktop version. Okay. So the only way to do this is on the desktop version. You can't use patterns right now in the mobile versions of the software. So I went ahead and cut them out. I chose these to be printed with no bleed lines. And I'm wondering if maybe that's what's happening with hers, is that she is using the bleed lines and they're cutting differently. I don't know, because honestly, I should have checked that, but I didn't have time tonight. So I am including a pictures in the comments under this on Facebook, so you can see that I seem to have gotten the same size cuts on all of mine. The only way they would be different is if they moved and it cut whopper jawed or a different size because they moved, or maybe the bleed lines make a difference. So far, that's my answer to her problem. I hope this helps. I hope y'all have a good day, and thanks for listening.